So we have an awesome lineup today of founders and innovators utilizing AI in everything from chips to chess. And to kick things off, we have an insightful session exploring how generating text and images, it may be fun, but today we're going to delve into the real world with how AI can be used to parse data and save medical practitioners and patients time. Leading this discussion is Elena, Poughia, Managing Director at Data Economy Media, a top 10 AI magazine with 1.5 million readers and founder of Data Natives, Europe's largest data science community. Joining her is co-founder and Chief Technology Officer at Picnic Health, Troy Astorino. Picnic just recently announced their foundational LLM, which outperforms all frontier models at interpreting medical records. Troy has been on many sides of the healthcare system, working in his parents' medical practices as a patient, a care supporter for family, and a partner in the therapeutic development. Troy is deeply motivated to make healthcare work better and excited about the impact AI will have. Let's give them a warm welcome to the stage.
AI, a transformative force, shaping our world, revolutionizing our lives, solving challenges, or creating problems, answering questions, raising concern, a catalyst for change. The power of AI.
Well, good morning. Nice way to start the second day of Web Summit. I'm very happy to be here and have this conversation together with Troy. Actually, I told Troy before that talking about healthcare and generally like looking at this topic is something that really excites me. I've been in the space for 9 years now and, doing mainly starting from data, now AI. And I think like when it comes to healthcare, there's so much data and so much opportunity and potentiality with it. So I'm very curious also to like have this conversation and see what you're planning to do with Picnic Health. So our discussion is around like how AI is revolutionizing health tech. And I think when it comes to the AI conversation, we know that it's all about like fun and games, changing an image, using it to manipulate, being able to get like faster text is now and using it as an AI assistant, but what can it do for healthcare? And like I said to you, the reason why it's so exciting to me is because there's like, on one hand, the opportunity, right, that it can really advance healthcare knowledge and, prognosis, and on the other hand, what can we do with data privacy? But first, please give us an introduction about, what you do, who you are, and Picnic Health.
Thanks, Elena. Excited to be here and have this conversation. So Picnic Health is a health technology company that's dedicated to simplifying healthcare. Our main mechanism for doing this, our main technology, involves taking a consented patient and being able to get all of their records wherever from all of their providers, pull it into a central place, and analyze and structure that data to make it useful. We have 2 products built on top of that foundation. One directly for patients, tens of thousands of patients use to better manage their care across all the different providers they see. And then a research platform for running observational studies. We work with over half of the top 20 pharma companies, helping to better characterize and understand disease in the real world.
Nice. So there's like 2 ways that you're working with this. So I guess like we were also joking about it before, right? We're already talking about AI and what can it do for humanity when like talking about artificial intelligence, but there's still a lot of like normal stupidity that we can also oversee, right? We're still like at the basics of we have everything analog. There's a lot of missed and lost files. How can we transcribe them so actually everybody can use their data? how like patients right now are using your platform, and what can they do for them?
Yeah. I mean, like Elena was saying, in the process of getting records for any patient, getting all their records, we can access about half of their data, half of their records electronically. But the other half, we still have to fax out record requests, get information faxed, mailed back over, and then digitize and structure it. So there's, and that's a meaningful, important portion of work. There's a lot of information that is that's critical, that's stored in those kind of files. And although we're based in the U.S., I think learned that in some ways always think the U.S. healthcare system is more fragmented, but in terms of electronic access, we're it's a bit stronger than some other countries. But anyway, to how it helps patients. I think we work with a lot of rare disease patients, chronic disease patients who have these longitudinal medical journeys where they see a lot of different doctors over time, whether that's trying to get diagnosed, trying to manage care, find new treatments, and it's really critical for patients to be able to help maintain the continuity of their healthcare journey. I think we've had patients who have critical information in their records that got missed, that never was communicated with them, or in the pressure of a short encounter with a doctor, they didn't quite follow or know how to use, and so have had very very meaningful changes in treatment pathways that happen because patients have access to their own data, their own records.
Right, because we're all humans, right? And we basically go through a lot of things in our life and our bodies, and we don't keep a track record of what's going on if you have it on paper. And essentially, you go to the doctor, they ask you a question, you fill out the questionnaire, and you might give misinformation there because of your own memory, right? If there's a trail of information, then you can actually better treat yourself. And potentially that can be good for preventative medication as well, preventative healthcare systems.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that having AI able to assist patients and help patients in getting that longitudinal information and pull it together to pull out relevant things, strong for preventative healthcare, strong for personalized healthcare. Every person is unique. Every person's journey is different, and so being able to surface the parts of your history, the parts of your information that might make your situation unique is really important to get the best care you can.
No, I think that's the thing, right? And I think that's why what I told you, healthcare, there's so many opportunities, especially when you're looking at data translating now to machine learning, then later artificial intelligence, hopefully soon. Mm-hmm. They're essentially looking at okay, so what can you do personalized? How can you help the person, because we're all different and we have different bodies. So it's not one pill fits all, right? And also how you can actually transfer your records, maybe even from country to country. So that's very helpful and beneficial. But, right, there's always a but. And I told you also one of the reasons why I was excited, or I got into starting that economy even was because of privacy as a topic. So I have a very interesting journey because I come actually from the arts, and there were a lot of artists making a commentary philosophically of what does it mean to give access to your data everywhere, to have a public image where everybody can manipulate, right? So what are some of the, let's say, obstacles or potential threats that this kind of universal healthcare records could, do for a patient, or for when it comes to privacy or similar aspects?
It's a great question. I think a lot of places in health, a lot of the health data world operates without patient consent, with data just being de-identified and shared and aggregated in various ways, with the patient having no idea what's going on. We take a different approach, and we believe it's really important that the patient is fully in control, fully consented, has ownership of their data and where it can go. And when the patient has access and the patient, people, individuals can control where their data is, I think you sidestep some of those concerns. Now, you still need to have good controls and good security and privacy, and the ability for patients to know that where their data is, it's secure. But when you're having patients consent, you have a much more straightforward ethical proposition.
And that actually would also mean that it can function like in different systems and countries? Because, like, for example, we already talked about, right? The US does not have the same healthcare system as in Europe, as it exists in Europe. We have like GDPR, we have a very strong process of and protocol of how data sets are moved around. Does that make it easier then?
Yeah. So today we operate in the US only, but the approach of a patient having the right to their data applies in most other countries, certainly within Europe under GDPR, where people can make subject access requests to be able to get their data. Because, like, logically it makes sense. Patients should have rights to be able to get their own data. It can be very difficult and annoying and like time-consuming to actually like access it and pull it in, and that's where, you know, one of the places where we can help. But that approach of putting the patient at the center is, not only like the ethical right thing to do, but also in practice it can be more effective because the patient is the one node that has the right to their data at every point in that patient's longitudinal journey.
So does that mean that if I give you my records, I also have the right to take them back from you?
Yeah.
I can just any day be like, okay, so thank you very much. Like, I used your service, but now I want my ownership back, and just retrieve them from anywhere that you have them.
Yeah, you can say, I want to download all my records, and I want you to delete my account and get rid of my records.
My right to be forgotten.
Yes.
Well, what about leakages? Like, I mean, we've seen cases, and I think we discussed it also before, right? That was one of the reasons why I was very much wary about, because I was always very curious to use 23andMe, because I wanted to see my ancestry, but I was wary that one of the main business models is selling these data sets to other people. So what happens if how can I avoid my data being sold without my consent? Is that a way that this could happen? Or what happens if there's a data leakage?
Well, I think with your data's in Picnic Health, your data will never be used without your explicit consent. When patients are participating in research, they're being recruited very directly into a particular study, sign an informed consent, go through an IRB-approved process, and so it's very explicit at like many points in the journey that your data is being shared. I think in the broader health data ecosystem, most health systems and allow for de-identification and then aggregation of data, which does provide benefits in terms of being able to better characterize disease progression, but does have the downside that most patients have no idea that that's happening, and so it's certainly a better world where patients have full knowledge and control over what's happening with their data.
Right, ownership of your data,
Yeah.
very, very important. I know, I've been bringing it back to data, right? Because I think that's kind of like the fundamental brick to build even models like machine learning and AI. But let's say, looking at the future, right? In a future that you can build based on what you're doing right now, what would be your ideal world when it comes to the healthcare ecosystem that you help build?
Yeah, I think there's a ton of opportunity for AI in healthcare. In particular, I think looking at the individual physician and patient interaction, doctors have very limited time that they can spend with patients, and there's been an increasing burden in administrative work and documentation and things that take away from direct patient care, direct patient interaction. Medicine is something that there's a very personal, real relationship between the patient and the physician. And so the extent to which AI can alleviate and remove the burden of rifling through records to try to find the right signal and the right information to help inform patient care, to manage a growing stream of inbound requests, some of which can be fairly straightforward, and allow doctors to better focus on having meaningful, effective interactions with their patients is a great world to be in. I think it's also true on the side of research. There is so much opportunity for like new, better therapies to be developed that will like very meaningfully impact patient care and patient outcomes. But you know, there are a lot of like administrative like compliance burden and like burden for trying to find signal in like lots of messy data that AI can really help streamline. And so I think there's a ton of very exciting opportunity here.
Yeah, basically then essentially the doctor and the patient can focus on managing their relationships and improving their life of the patient rather than focusing on these details of like keeping the records, right?
Yeah.
I'm a how should I put it? Like I'm a bit of a hypochondriac. I'm the kind of person that Googles everything that happens to me, and I think I'm gonna die next year. So I'm wondering, like, do you think that this kind of thing could actually make, would also impact like a patient who's been looking at their data sets then and then make their own prognosis, or?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, and one of the exciting recent features we've been working on is being able to have AI search on top of your own records, and like when you Google, there's like a ton of information that's like there, some of which is not relevant to you, some of which is relevant to you, and if you use something like if you try out like ChatGPT or something like that, you can like add in additional context that it'll maybe help tune the response. But being able to, I think, combine your actual medical history with the information that you're trying to understand can give you a much more targeted and accurate response. And then you as a patient can be a lot better informed when you're having a conversation with your doctor, and hopefully then also like bringing up like less irrelevant stuff, so you can have like a really meaningful, focused conversation.
Nice. And but you are like looking in bigger, small picture, like patient relationships or patient records, but also bigger picture, life science, right? So maybe tell us a couple of things that you're contributing right now to the broader community with your research and your work.
Yeah, so we do a lot of observational research. So we work with life sciences, pharma, biotech companies, developing new therapeutics, and do post-approval studies, so like phase 4, like following once drugs are in market, or build out registries to better characterize disease progression, disease burden, standard of care, and like the ability to actually like understand what is going on in the healthcare system, how patients are being treated is, I mean, incredibly important when you're trying to assess safety, assess efficacy, and like understand like how current products in the market are performing, what opportunities there are to make better treatments. But it's really hard. Like it's like there's a real dearth of information and access to that information, and so I think that's where we can come in and help make research a lot more efficient and a lot more streamlined by having this mechanism to follow patients who consent and want to participate in a study through their real life healthcare journey.
Yeah, I mean, we were also talking about it before, right? The healthcare system, well, it's good if it is a healthcare system, not a sick care system, but also it's like a service, right? And as a patient, if you are offering your data sets to research, you're also offering a service to whoever else will be benefiting from that research. So it's a pretty big thing for the cause of humanity, I think.
Yeah, I think we do a lot of work in rare disease and see patient communities that are like really, really motivated. Like, people have gone through something that's like been, very trying and can be like terrible. But they want to be able to translate that experience into something meaningful that can like help other people and help other people like avoid, going through the same experience that they had. And so there's this, deep kind of like altruistic motivation for patients to like give back and like help their community. That is really powerful.
Yeah, right. No, it's great. And as I told you, like I'm really curious to see how the universal healthcare records, as a system will continue, and what are you going to do with Picnic Health. So, yeah. Any last remarks that you want to say? Any message that you want to communicate here?
I think that, like I kind of said earlier, there's a lot of opportunity for AI to improve healthcare. And if you look at like all parts of the healthcare system, like it's not hard to find places where there's a lot of inefficiency in existing processes, and there's some more complex regulatory regime than you have to work through in other areas. But I think if you can find ways to simplify, streamline, improve processes with AI, you can have a really big real-world impact on people and their health. And so work on something really important.
Nice. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Elena.
Great.